Claire Bennett had spent 23 years believing she was human, until an 8-foot black mirror called her princess and every vampire in the ballroom dropped to one knee. 3 hours earlier, Claire had been worried about a $47 electric bill. That was the kind of problem she understood. Bills. Rent. Night shifts. The broken heater in her tiny studio apartment outside Boston that made sounds like an angry washing machine every morning at 2. Royal bloodlines were not on the list. Neither were vampires. Claire worked the overnight desk at the Ashcroft Hotel, a red brick landmark built in 1891 and famous for two things: antique furniture and guests who complained about antique furniture. At 11:40 that night, her manager handed her a stack of fresh towels and pointed toward the private elevator. 13th floor. Claire stared at him. We have a 13th floor? Tonight, we do. He did not smile. The guests rented the entire level. Do not speak unless they speak first. Do not ask questions. And stay away from the old ballroom. Claire looked at the towels. That sounds completely normal. Her manager walked away. 20 minutes later, Claire stepped from the elevator into a hallway she had never seen on any hotel map. The air felt colder. Men and women in dark formal clothing moved silently between rooms. Their skin was pale. Their voices were low. No one carried luggage. Claire delivered the towels and headed back toward the elevator. Then she heard a whisper. Claire. She stopped. The hallway was empty. Hello? Nothing. She took another step. Claire Bennett. The voice came from behind two carved wooden doors at the end of the corridor. The old ballroom. Claire remembered the warning. She also remembered that she earned $16 an hour and was not paid enough to investigate mysterious voices. She turned toward the elevator. Come home. Claire froze. Slowly, she looked back. The doors stood open. She was certain they had been closed before. Inside, nearly 50 people gathered beneath crystal chandeliers. No music played. At the center of the ballroom stood a black mirror nearly 8 feet tall. Everyone avoided it. Claire should have left. Instead, she stepped inside. The whisper grew clearer. The lost daughter returns. A woman in a silver dress noticed Claire. Her pale face tightened. Human, she said sharply. Conversations stopped. Claire lifted both hands. Sorry. Wrong room. Then the mirror spoke again. Princess. Claire stared at the dark glass. Did anyone else hear that? No one answered. The woman in silver moved toward her. Leave. Claire backed away, but the mirror's surface changed. Silver light moved beneath the glass like moonlight beneath water. Claire's heartbeat raced. She had heard whispers from old mirrors since childhood. Foster parents called them nightmares. Teachers called them an overactive imagination. Claire had learned to ignore them. But this voice knew her name. Her hand rose before she could stop herself. Do not touch it, someone whispered. Claire's palm met the glass. Cold rushed through her fingers. Words entered her mind. Ancient. Impossible. Yet somehow familiar. Claire opened her mouth. Valora S.A. Crown, Etheris Neal. The ballroom changed. One man dropped to his knee. Then another. Then the woman in silver. Within seconds, every person in the room was kneeling. Claire remained standing with one hand against the mirror. Her breathing became shallow. What did I do? No one answered. They were staring at her. Not with anger. With fear. The elevator doors opened behind them. A tall man stepped into the ballroom wearing a black coat. His face was unnaturally white, paler than Claire's skin, and long black hair curled softly at the ends near his shoulders. His silver eyes moved across the kneeling crowd before stopping on Claire. The room became completely silent. Someone lowered their head. King Nathaniel. Claire pulled her hand from the mirror. The Vampire King looked at her for 3 long seconds. Then his expression changed. Not recognition. Something deeper. Something almost impossible for an ancient king to hide. Shock. Nathaniel walked toward Claire until only 6 feet separated them. His silver eyes searched her face. Who is your mother? Claire swallowed. I do not know. Nathaniel went perfectly still. Behind Claire, the Black Mirror whispered one final sentence. The lost princess has returned. For the first time in her life, Claire wished the floor would open and give her somewhere ordinary to disappear. The kneeling strangers remained motionless around her. King Nathaniel Blackthorne did not. He stood 6 feet away, his silver eyes fixed on Claire with an intensity that made every thought leave her mind. Everyone stand, Claire said nervously. Nothing happened. She looked around the ballroom. Seriously. Please stand up. One by one, the vampires slowly rose. Nathaniel noticed the word she had used. Please. Not a command. A request. His gaze returned to her face. You speak the royal blood tongue. Claire shook her head. I speak English and enough high school Spanish to order lunch badly. No one laughed. Claire swallowed. That was a joke. Nathaniel stepped closer. His extremely pale face revealed almost nothing, but his eyes were different. Searching. Remembering. Claire had seen that expression before in foster parents studying photographs of children they might adopt. It was the look of someone trying to find a person they had already lost. Repeat the words, Nathaniel said. What words? The ones you spoke to the mirror. I do not remember them. The woman in silver moved forward. Your Majesty, she is lying. Nathaniel did not look away from Claire. Lady Evelyn, I did not ask for your opinion. Evelyn stopped. Claire glanced between them. Your Majesty, she repeated. Nathaniel's eyes narrowed slightly. You truly do not know who we are. I work the night desk at a hotel. Until 10 minutes ago, my biggest concern was whether room 812 would complain about the air conditioner again. Nathaniel studied her heartbeat. Fast. Uneven. Human. Yet the ancient mirror had answered her. Royal blood tongue had moved through her lips. And those eyes. Brown, but touched by a faint silver ring near the pupils. Eleanor had possessed the same ring. Nathaniel had spent 23 years trying to forget it. Who raised you? He asked. Claire's expression changed. Different people. Names. Why? Answer me. Claire straightened. Fear remained in her face, but something firmer appeared beneath it. No. A quiet murmur passed through the ballroom. Nathaniel blinked once. Few people had refused him in 4 centuries. Fewer had done it while wearing a hotel name tag. You used royal authority over this room, he said. I touched a mirror. 53 vampires knelt. Claire looked around. That sounds like a problem with the mirror. For the briefest moment, Nathaniel almost smiled. Then Claire tucked a strand of chestnut hair behind her ear. The movement exposed a small mark beneath her left ear. Nathaniel froze. A crescent. 3 tiny points above it. The Blackthorne birth seal. He remembered seeing it once before on a newborn child wrapped in a white blanket. Eleanor's daughter. His niece. The infant who vanished the same night her mother disappeared. Nathaniel crossed the distance between them so quickly Claire stepped back. Do not move. That is not comforting. He stared at the mark. Lady Evelyn saw it too. Her hand tightened around the silver ring on her finger. Nathaniel heard the metal creak. He slowly turned toward her. Evelyn immediately relaxed her hand. Too late. Claire Bennett, Nathaniel said. Claire looked at him. You are coming with me. No, I am not. The ballroom became silent again. Nathaniel lowered his voice. Someone has hidden you for 23 years. Claire's heartbeat stopped for one terrible instant. What? And if I am correct, Claire, they did not hide you from us. Nathaniel looked toward Lady Evelyn. Her face remained calm. Her pulse did not. They hid you because they knew exactly what would happen when you came home. By 2 in the morning, Claire Bennett had discovered that nearly every official document describing her life was connected to someone who had never existed. She sat in a private office on the 13th floor of the Ashcroft Hotel, still wearing her Navy work uniform and name tag, while King Nathaniel Blackthorne stood beside a long wooden table covered with files. Claire had refused to leave the hotel with him. Nathaniel had surprised everyone by accepting that refusal. Instead, he ordered the hotel floor closed and summoned Lord Thomas Reed, the royal archivist. Thomas arrived 20 minutes later carrying 3 leather cases and the expression of a man who had been awakened for a reason he already feared. Claire Bennett, he said, opening a laptop. Born May 17, 23 years ago, at St. Mercy Hospital in Worcester, Massachusetts. Claire nodded. That is what my birth certificate says. Thomas stopped typing. St. Mercy Hospital never existed. Claire stared at him. Maybe it closed. There is no state registration. No property record. No medical license. No tax history. Claire looked at Nathaniel. His pale face remained still. Continue, he said. Thomas opened another file. Claire entered foster care at 4 months old. Her intake paperwork was signed by social worker Margaret Hale. I have seen that name, Claire said. She was on several of my records. Thomas turned the screen toward her. A black and white photograph appeared. Beneath it was a date. Claire leaned closer. Margaret Hale had died 10 years before Claire entered foster care. The room became painfully quiet. That is impossible, Claire whispered. Nathaniel watched her carefully. No. It is deliberate. Claire stood and walked toward the window. Boston lights stretched beyond the glass. Cars moved along the streets below. Ordinary people going home. Ordering food. Arguing about parking spaces. Claire suddenly wanted to be one of them more than anything. My school records, she asked. Thomas hesitated. Transferred from institutions with incomplete archives. My first foster family? The address belonged to an empty warehouse. Claire closed her eyes. My birth certificate? Professionally manufactured. She turned around. So my entire life is fake? Nathaniel answered before Thomas could. Your life is real. The records are false. Claire looked at him. That is supposed to make me feel better? No. His voice softened slightly. It is supposed to keep you from confusing what someone did to you with who you are. Claire said nothing. Thomas continued searching. Minutes passed. Then his fingers stopped over the keyboard. Your Majesty. Nathaniel moved beside him. What? There is a secondary authorization code on the foster placement file. Thomas enlarged a faded digital scan. Claire stepped closer. At the bottom of the document was a signature almost hidden beneath an official stamp. Evelyn M. Voss. Nathaniel became completely still. Claire recognized the name. The woman from the ballroom. Lady Evelyn Voss, Thomas said. High Council member for 112 years. Claire stared at the signature. She knew me? Nathaniel's silver eyes hardened. She knew your file. 23 years ago? Yes. Claire remembered Evelyn's face when the mirror called her princess. Not confusion. Fear. Why would a vampire council member sign foster care paperwork? Thomas looked at Nathaniel. Nathaniel looked back at Claire. She would not. A soft sound came from the hallway. Nathaniel turned toward the door. Lady Evelyn stood there. She had changed from her silver gown into a dark traveling coat. Her expression was perfectly calm. "Your Majesty," she said. "I heard there was an investigation." Nathaniel slowly closed the file. "Interesting." Evelyn smiled. "What is?" "I told no one." Silence filled the office. Claire watched Evelyn's eyes move toward the table. Toward the document. Toward her own signature. For 1 second, the ancient vampire forgot to control her face. Claire saw it. So did Nathaniel. Fear. Evelyn recovered immediately. "You are making a dangerous mistake over a human girl." Nathaniel stepped between Evelyn and Claire. "Perhaps." His silver eyes became cold. "But someone spent 23 years building a false life around her." Evelyn said nothing. Nathaniel placed one hand over the foster record. "And tonight, I found the first real name inside it." Claire looked at Evelyn. Evelyn looked back. Then she smiled. "Be careful, Claire Bennett." Her voice was gentle. "Some girls spend their whole lives searching for their families." She turned toward the door. "You may discover there was a very good reason yours wanted you forgotten." Lady Evelyn's warning followed Claire long after the elevator doors closed, because fear was much harder to ignore when it spoke in a calm voice. By 4 a.m, Claire sat alone in a guarded hotel suite while Nathaniel and Thomas continued examining her records 2 rooms away. She had been given tea. She had not touched it. Her phone rested on the table beside $47 in unpaid bills, 3 missed messages from her landlord, and a photograph of herself at 16 standing outside a foster home in Cambridge. Yesterday, those things had defined her life. Tonight, a black mirror had called her princess. Claire rubbed her eyes. A soft sound came from beneath the door. Paper sliding across carpet. She stood. A small white envelope rested near her feet. No name. No hotel mark. Claire opened it. There were only 11 words. "If you want to know why your mother died, come alone." Below the message was a room number. 1407. Claire stopped breathing. Her mother. Nathaniel had asked about her. Evelyn had mentioned family. Every false record led backward toward a woman Claire could not remember. Claire looked toward the guarded hallway. She should call Nathaniel. The sensible part of her knew that. But 23 years of being passed between strangers had taught Claire one painful lesson. When people controlled information about your life, they also controlled you. 5 minutes later, she used the service stairs. Room 1407 was empty. The door stood open. Claire stepped inside. A second note waited on the table. Blackthorn Estate. East Gate. Follow the stone road. Claire stared at it. "This is a terrible idea," she whispered. An hour later, a rideshare dropped her beside a narrow road 12 miles outside Boston. Dawn had not yet arrived. Blackthorn Estate rose beyond iron gates and dark trees, larger than any home Claire had ever seen. She followed the stone road for nearly half a mile until she reached an abandoned building hidden behind the main castle. One upstairs window glowed. Claire entered. Dust covered the staircase, but a line of small lights guided her upward. At the end of the hall stood a white door. Claire pushed it open. Her heart stopped. The room had been preserved. Dresses hung inside an open wardrobe. Books covered a writing desk. A wooden cradle rested beside the window. Above the fireplace was a portrait of a young woman with brown eyes surrounded by faint rings of silver. Claire stepped closer. The woman had her eyes. "Eleanor," Claire whispered. On the desk sat a wooden box filled with letters. Claire opened the first. "My dearest Nathaniel." Her hands trembled. She read another. Then another. Each letter was written by Princess Eleanor Blackthorne. Claire reached the final envelope. One word appeared across the front. Claire. She nearly dropped it. The paper inside was 23 years old. "My sweet daughter, if you are reading this, then someone has failed to keep you hidden." Claire pressed one hand over her mouth. The words blurred. She forced herself to continue. "If Claire survives, never bring her home. Never allow the council to know what she can do. They will call her princess. They will speak of duty and blood. Do not believe them. They do not want my daughter. They want the command inside her." Claire sank into the chair. Her mother had known. Her mother had named her. Her mother had not abandoned her. Footsteps sounded in the hallway. Claire stood quickly. Nathaniel appeared in the doorway. His long black hair was damp from the morning mist, the curled ends resting near his shoulders. His pale face held no anger. Only relief. "You left without telling me." Claire held up the letter. "She hid me." Nathaniel saw Eleanor's handwriting. His silver eyes changed. Claire's voice broke. "My mother wanted me gone." "No." Nathaniel entered slowly. "Read the letter." "I did." "Then read it again." Claire looked at him. Nathaniel lowered himself to the floor beside her chair, a king sitting on dusty wood because the frightened young woman before him needed him closer to human height. "Eleanor did not send you away because she wanted to lose you," he said. "She sent you away because she believed keeping you was more dangerous." Claire looked down at the letter. "What is the command inside me?" Nathaniel was silent. Claire's fingers tightened around the paper. "Tell me." He looked toward the empty cradle. "The night you were born, every royal vampire within 3 miles heard your first cry." Claire waited. "And every one of them knelt." Cold moved through her. Nathaniel met her eyes. "They are not afraid you are the lost princess, Claire." His voice became almost a whisper. "They are afraid you can command the throne." Claire stared at Nathaniel as if he had just told her gravity was optional. "Command the throne," she whispered. Morning light began to touch the dusty windows of Eleanor's abandoned room, revealing 23 years of untouched memories. Nathaniel remained seated on the floor beside her chair. "The Blackthorne bloodline carries different royal gifts. Mine allows me to sense dishonesty. Eleanor could enter protected memories through mirrors." Claire looked toward her mother's portrait. "And me?" Nathaniel's silver eyes settled on her. "Crown command." Claire laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "I answer phones at a hotel." "I am aware. Last week, I spent 20 minutes arguing with a vending machine." "That seems unrelated." Claire looked at him. Nathaniel's expression remained perfectly serious. Somehow, that made her laugh again. This time the sound was real. It lasted only a second. Then Claire remembered 53 vampires kneeling in the ballroom. Her smile disappeared. "Can I control humans?" "No." "Vampires?" Nathaniel hesitated. "Royal vampires and those bound by ancient court law." Claire stood quickly. "So you?" Nathaniel rose more slowly. "Possibly." "Possibly?" "No one has carried crown command in 700 years." Claire walked toward the window. "My mother wrote that the council wanted the command inside me." "Yes." "Who?" Nathaniel looked at Eleanor's letters. "She never gave me names." "Lady Evelyn." Her signature is suspicious. It is not proof. Claire turned. You heard her heartbeat. Nathaniel became still. Claire remembered the hotel office. Evelyn's hand tightening around her ring. Nathaniel noticing. You knew she was afraid. Fear does not always mean guilt. That sounds like something a king says when politics are involved. It is. Claire folded Eleanor's letter carefully. I want to meet the council. Nathaniel's eyes narrowed. No. Claire blinked. Excuse me? You have known vampires exist for approximately 7 hours. 7 very educational hours. The High Council has manipulated kingdoms for centuries. Then I probably should not keep them waiting. Nathaniel stepped closer. Claire, they may provoke you intentionally. If Crown Command reacts to fear or anger, we do not know what will happen. Claire looked directly at him. That is exactly why I need to understand it before someone else decides what it means. Nathaniel said nothing. For a moment, Claire saw the king everyone feared. Ancient. Controlled. Accustomed to obedience. Then she saw something else. Her uncle. Eleanor's brother. A man who had lost his sister and niece on the same night. Please, Claire said. Nathaniel closed his eyes briefly. I preferred you when you did not know the word please worked on me. 3 hours later, Claire entered the royal hall of Blackthorn Castle. She wore the same Navy hotel uniform because she had refused the silver dress prepared for her. Her name tag still read Claire. 21 vampires sat behind a curved council table. Lady Evelyn occupied the center seat. Nathaniel walked beside Claire, his black coat moving silently across the marble floor. Every conversation stopped. Evelyn smiled. The hotel clerk returns. Claire's stomach tightened. My name is Claire. A human name given by human strangers. My mother used it first. Evelyn's smile weakened. Claire placed Eleanor's letter on the council table. Several vampires leaned forward. Princess Eleanor hid me because someone wanted crown command, Claire said. I want to know who. Silence. Evelyn rested both hands on the table. You assume the letter is genuine. Nathaniel recognized her handwriting. The king is emotionally compromised. Nathaniel's face cooled. Claire spoke before he could. Then test the letter. Evelyn looked at her. Gladly. And afterward, we will test you. A quiet murmur moved through the council. Claire felt Nathaniel become still beside her. No blood trial, he said. Evelyn ignored him. If you are truly Eleanor's daughter, the crown will answer you. Claire looked toward the black throne at the far end of the hall. And if it does? Evelyn smiled. Then perhaps you can finally become useful. Claire's fear vanished for one sharp second. Useful? Evelyn realized her mistake. Too late. Claire remembered Eleanor's words. They do not want my daughter. They want the command inside her. Claire stepped closer to the council table. I never told you what they wanted me for. Evelyn's expression froze. Nathaniel slowly turned toward her. Claire's heartbeat thundered. My mother's letter only says they wanted the command inside me. Claire held Evelyn's gaze. But you just assumed the crown would make me useful. No one moved. Nathaniel's silver eyes became cold. Lady Evelyn, he said quietly, how did you know what Claire was hidden for? Evelyn stood. This meeting is over. Claire felt something awaken inside her. Not anger. Not exactly. A pressure behind her voice. Ancient words rose into her mind. Nathaniel heard Claire inhale. Claire, wait. She spoke one word. Stay. Every door in the royal hall closed at once. 21 vampires froze. Lady Evelyn tried to step away. She could not. Claire stared at the room in horror. Then, one by one, the entire High Council began to kneel. Claire had never wanted anyone to kneel before her, and the sight of 21 ancient vampires lowering themselves against their will filled her with immediate terror. "Stand up," she said. Nothing happened. Lady Evelyn remained on one knee beside the council table, her face controlled but her eyes furious. Claire looked at Nathaniel. He was still standing. "Why are you not kneeling?" Nathaniel's silver eyes stayed on her. "Because I am the reigning king. The crown protects me from an untrained command." Claire swallowed. "Good. Fix this." "I cannot. You are the king. And you gave the command." Claire turned toward the council. "Please stand." Several vampires moved slightly, then stopped as if an invisible rule held them in place. Panic tightened her chest. "I said please." "The first command remains active," Nathaniel said. "Then how do I stop it?" He did not answer quickly enough. Claire's fear sharpened. The candles around the royal hall flickered. "Nathaniel. I do not know." The truth was worse than any lie. Claire backed away from the council table. She had spent 23 years with no control over where she lived, which foster family received her file, or which adult decided what was best for her. Now one word from her could remove choice from an entire room. "I do not want this." Evelyn laughed softly from the floor. "That is what your mother said." Claire looked at her. "You knew her." Evelyn's expression changed. "Be careful. You signed my foster records." "Claire," Nathaniel warned gently. The pressure behind her voice was growing again. Claire closed her eyes. "I do not want them to kneel." "Then do not command them," Nathaniel said. "I already did." "Yes." His voice moved closer. "So now choose what comes next." Claire opened her eyes. Nathaniel stood only a few feet away. "You said the crown protects you." "It does." "Then you cannot understand." Nathaniel considered that. Then, before anyone could speak, the vampire king lowered himself to one knee. Claire stared at him. "What are you doing?" Gasps moved through the kneeling council. Nathaniel looked up at her, his pale face calm beneath his long black hair. "The crown did not force me." "Get up." That sounds dangerously close to another command. Claire stopped. Nathaniel's expression softened. "Ask me." Her hands trembled. "Nathaniel, would you please stand?" He rose immediately. Claire stared at him. "Again," he said. "What?" "Do not tell them what they must do. Tell them what you are asking for." Claire looked at the council. 21 faces watched her. Some afraid. Some angry. Some curious. Claire took a slow breath. "I am asking all of you to stand because I do not want obedience I did not earn." Nothing happened. Then the pressure inside her shifted. The silver ring around Claire's brown eyes brightened. Lady Evelyn suddenly rose. Another council member followed. Then another. Within seconds, every vampire stood. Claire nearly collapsed with relief. Nathaniel caught her elbow, steadying her without pulling her closer. "You stopped it," he said. Claire shook her head. "I asked." "Exactly." Evelyn stepped back from the table. "A charming demonstration." Nathaniel turned toward her. "You seem remarkably calm for someone whose name appears on falsified royal records." "My family handled council security." "Did security include hiding my niece?" Evelyn's eyes moved toward Claire. "Your niece was dangerous from birth." Claire went still. Nathaniel's voice became colder. "Was?" Evelyn realized what she had said. Again. Too late. Claire stepped forward, but this time she kept her voice quiet. Human. You knew me as a baby. Evelyn said nothing. You knew what happened the night my mother disappeared. Silence. Claire placed Eleanor's letter on the table. I am not commanding you. She looked directly at Evelyn. I am asking the council to listen while we find the truth. One elderly vampire at the end of the table stood. I will listen. A second nodded. Then a third. Nathaniel watched Claire as the room changed without ancient words, without supernatural pressure, without anyone being forced to kneel. For 700 years, Crown Command had been remembered as the power to control royal vampires. Nathaniel finally understood why Eleanor had risked everything to hide her daughter. The council had misunderstood the gift. Claire's greatest power was not making people obey. It was making them choose to listen. Then Thomas Red entered the royal hall carrying a sealed black archive box. His face was pale. Your Majesty, he said. We opened Princess Eleanor's restricted records. Nathaniel looked at the box. And? Thomas glanced at Claire. Lady Evelyn did not order Claire's disappearance. Evelyn smiled. Claire's stomach dropped. Thomas placed the box on the table. According to Eleanor's final report, she was hiding her daughter from someone outside the Blackthorn Kingdom. Nathaniel broke the seal. Inside was a single photograph of an ancient black mirror. On its frame was a symbol no one in the room had seen for 700 years. Except Claire. She had seen it that night at the Ashcroft Hotel, glowing beneath her hand. Claire recognized the symbol before Thomas finished placing the photograph on the table, and suddenly the black mirror at the Ashcroft Hotel no longer felt like an accident. I saw that, she said. Nathaniel turned toward her. Where? On the mirror. It appeared beneath my hand before everyone knelt. The royal hall became silent. Thomas opened the archive box again and removed a thin folder sealed with Eleanor's royal crest. This symbol belonged to the Nocturne Empire. Lady Evelyn's expression changed. That empire vanished 700 years ago. According to Blackthorn history, Thomas replied. Nathaniel took the folder. And according to Eleanor? Thomas hesitated. She believed they survived. Claire stared at him. 7 hours ago, vampires had been impossible. Now a vanished vampire empire was apparently searching for her. Can someone please explain this without assuming I studied supernatural history in foster care? Nathaniel opened Eleanor's report. The Nocturne Empire ruled before Blackthorn. Their kings believed royal authority should be absolute. Meaning? A command was law. Choice was irrelevant. Claire thought of the council kneeling against their will. Her stomach tightened. Nathaniel continued. Crown Command first appeared in their bloodline. 700 years ago, the last known Nocturne princess disappeared. The gift vanished with her. Claire looked at her hands. Until me. Until you, Nathaniel said. Lady Evelyn moved toward the table. Then Eleanor was right to hide her. Claire looked up. You knew my mother was afraid of them. Evelyn said nothing. Nathaniel closed the report. Answer her. Evelyn's face remained controlled. Eleanor came to me 23 years ago. She needed human documents, foster placements, identities that could not be traced through royal archives. Claire's heartbeat quickened. You helped her. Yes. Then why did you act like you wanted me gone? Evelyn's eyes hardened. Because your mother made me promise that if you returned, I would make Blackthorn reject you. Claire stared at her. Every cruel word. Every accusation. The blood trial. You were trying to scare me away. I was trying to keep you alive and ordinary. Evelyn's voice softened for the first time. Eleanor believed the Nocturne Court could sense Crown Command once it awakened. The moment that ballroom knelt, hiding you became impossible. Claire looked at Nathaniel. So they know where I am? Nathaniel did not answer. He did not need to. Thomas removed another document. There is more. Claire almost laughed. Of course there is. Thomas placed Eleanor's final letter on the table. Nathaniel broke the seal. His silver eyes moved across the page. Then stopped. What? Claire asked. Nathaniel read the line again. Eleanor believed the Nocturne bloodline did not disappear. Claire waited. She believed it entered another royal family. Lady Evelyn stepped closer. Which family? Nathaniel slowly lifted his eyes toward Claire. Blackthorn. No one spoke. Claire felt the room tilt beneath her. My mother? Possibly. Then I am not just Blackthorn. Nathaniel folded the letter. No. Claire walked away from the table. The throne stood at the far end of the hall, black and silver beneath towering windows. Everyone had spent the night calling her princess. Suddenly, the word felt heavier. I do not want the crown, she said. Evelyn frowned. What? Claire turned. I do not want a throne. I do not want people kneeling. I do not want a power that takes away choice. Nathaniel watched her carefully. Claire. My entire childhood was paperwork signed by strangers. People decided where I slept, where I went to school, when I had to leave. I know what it feels like when someone else controls your life. Her brown eyes moved across the council. I will not become that person because some ancient bloodline says I can. Evelyn stared at her. Then you are useless to them. The words escaped too quickly. Claire noticed. Nathaniel did too. To them? Claire asked. Evelyn went still. Claire stepped closer. You know what the Nocturne Empire wants. I read Eleanor's reports. No. Claire shook her head. You said I was useless to them. Not dangerous. Not important. Useless. Evelyn's pulse changed. Nathaniel heard it. Claire did not command her. She simply asked, what did my mother tell you? Evelyn looked toward the windows. Dawn had finally reached Blackthorn Castle. She told me the Nocturne Empire does not need a princess to rule beside them. Evelyn faced Claire. They need one to open something. Before Claire could ask what, every mirror in the royal hall turned black. Nathaniel moved beside her. Silver letters appeared across the nearest glass. Claire read them aloud. Bring us the crown, daughter. Then a second sentence appeared. Nathaniel's pale face became colder than Claire had ever seen it. Or we come to Blackthorn. Claire looked at the dark mirror. For 23 years, someone had erased her name to keep an empire from finding her. Now they had found her anyway. The mirrors remained black for 47 seconds, and no one in the royal hall breathed easily until the silver words disappeared. Claire stared at her reflection as it slowly returned. Same chestnut hair. Same tired brown eyes. Same Navy hotel uniform she had worn to work the night before. Nothing about her looked like someone an ancient empire would threaten a kingdom to possess. What do they want me to open? She asked. Nathaniel turned toward Lady Evelyn. Answer her. Evelyn looked older than she had an hour earlier. Eleanor never told me exactly. She called it the first gate. Thomas Red opened another folder from the archive box. There are references here. Nathaniel moved beside him. Claire followed. Thomas pointed to a faded translation. The Nocturne Empire believed the first gate could only answer a royal bearer of crown command. Claire folded her arms. And behind this gate? Thomas hesitated. The records disagree. That usually means something terrible. One text calls it the source of royal authority. Another calls it the beginning of the first vampire throne. Claire looked at Nathaniel. So an empire that supposedly disappeared 700 years ago needs me to open a mysterious door. Gate, Thomas corrected. Claire stared at him. That was the important part? Nathaniel almost smiled. Almost. Then the nearest mirror darkened again. Claire stepped back. No words appeared this time. Instead, a room formed inside the glass. A stone chamber. A circular doorway covered in silver symbols. Claire's heartbeat changed. She knew those symbols. Not from a book. Not from Eleanor's letters. She had seen them in dreams since childhood. I know that place. Nathaniel turned sharply. How? I do not know. Claire moved closer to the mirror. There are 3 steps below the doorway. The wall on the left has a crack shaped like a tree. The image shifted. 3 steps appeared. Then the cracked wall. Thomas went pale. She has seen the first gate. No, Claire whispered. I dreamed it. A voice entered the hall through every mirror. Ancient. Male. Calm. Memory survives where history fails. Nathaniel stepped in front of Claire. Show yourself. The voice ignored him. Crown daughter, open what your mother closed. Claire's fear rose. The pressure behind her voice awakened with it. Around the council table, several vampires stiffened. Nathaniel noticed. Claire. Look at me. She did. Do not command the room. I am trying not to. Then ask. Claire shook her head. Ask what? Nathaniel slowly lowered himself to one knee. Not because the crown command forced him. Claire knew that now. The vampire king chose to kneel. Gasps moved through the council. Nathaniel, please stand. He remained where he was. Not yet. His silver eyes held hers. You have spent your entire life believing power belonged to the people who made decisions for you. Foster agencies. Strangers. False records. Now everyone in this room is afraid of what happens when you make one decision for yourself. Claire's breathing slowed. I do not know how to be a princess. Good. Good. The council has enough people who believe titles make them wise. Evelyn looked offended. Claire almost laughed. The pressure inside her weakened. Nathaniel continued. Do not command us. Ask us for what you need. Claire looked around the hall. 21 council members. Thomas. Evelyn. An ancient king kneeling voluntarily before a hotel clerk. She took one breath. I am asking you to help me find the first gate before the Nocturne Empire does. Silence. Nathaniel stood. You have my help. Thomas bowed his head. And mine. One council member stepped forward. Then another. Evelyn remained still the longest. Finally, she sighed. Eleanor would be furious with me. Claire waited. Evelyn looked at her. You have my help. No supernatural pressure filled the room. No ancient language. No one knelt. Yet the entire council had chosen. Claire finally understood. Crown command could force obedience, but force was not the only kind of power. The black mirror suddenly cracked with silver light. The image of the first gate vanished. A map appeared. Nathaniel recognized the coastline immediately. Maine, he said. Thomas moved closer. The northern coast. A silver point burned near an abandoned island 40 miles from the Canadian border. Claire stared at it. The male voice returned one final time. Come home, princess. Then the mirror cleared. Nathaniel looked at Claire. You are not going. Claire picked up Eleanor's letter from the table. You told me to make my own decisions. Nathaniel's pale expression hardened. I am beginning to regret being emotionally supportive. Claire slipped the letter into her pocket. That sounds inconvenient. Nathaniel stared at her. Then, despite an empire waiting beyond a 700-year-old gate, the Vampire King smiled. By sunset, Blackthorn Castle had prepared 3 cars, 12 royal guards, and enough supplies for a week. Claire stood at the front steps in her borrowed coat. Nathaniel approached beside her. Still time to stay. Claire looked north. My mother spent 23 years making sure I could choose my own life. She tightened her hand around Eleanor's letter. I think I finally owe her the truth about why she gave me one. Far away, on an island hidden beneath the evening fog, a circular stone gate opened its first silver eye. The island appeared through the fog shortly after midnight, and Claire knew before the boat reached shore that she had seen it 100 times in dreams. 3 stone steps rose from the beach. Beyond them stood a ruined structure covered in silver symbols. Nathaniel stepped onto the sand beside her, his extremely pale face unreadable beneath the moonlight. 12 royal guards remained near the boats while Thomas and Evelyn followed at a careful distance. The first gate is beneath the ruins, Claire said. Nathaniel looked at her. You sound certain. I wish I was not. They entered the structure. A narrow staircase descended nearly 60 feet beneath the island. At the bottom waited the circular doorway from the mirror. 3 steps. Silver symbols. A crack in the left wall shaped like a tree. Claire stopped. This is it. The silver eye at the center of the gate opened. Nathaniel moved in front of Claire. Stay behind me. You know that has not worked once tonight. I remain optimistic. A voice filled the chamber. Crown daughter. Claire's hands trembled. Who are you? The silver eye brightened. The kingdom that remembers your first name. Claire frowned. My name is Claire. The name given to you for hiding. My mother used it. Silence. Then the voice changed. Eleanor always was difficult. Nathaniel's expression became cold. You knew my sister. We knew what she stole. Claire stepped closer to the gate. She did not steal me. Not you. Silver lines spread across the doorway. The key. Claire looked at Nathaniel. Crown command. The voice laughed softly. Crown command is not the key. Choice is. Claire went still. The gate continued. For centuries, kings attempted to open us with orders. Threats. Royal blood. Everyone failed. Claire remembered Nathaniel kneeling voluntarily. The council choosing to listen. Her mother hiding her among humans. My mother knew. Eleanor understood too late. The first gate answers only a royal who can command and chooses not to. Nathaniel looked at Claire. Do not open it. Claire stared at the silver eye. What is behind you? The voice answered immediately. Your inheritance. That is not an answer. It is the only one you require. Claire almost smiled. Then you really do not know me. She removed Eleanor's letter from her pocket. The paper was worn from being unfolded too many times in one day. If Claire survives, never bring her home. Claire finally understood. Blackthorn had never been the home Eleanor feared. This island was. This gate. This inheritance. You spent 23 years looking for me, Claire said. Yes. And you need me to choose. Yes. Claire stepped onto the first stone step. Nathaniel said her name. She continued to the second. The silver symbols brightened. Claire. She reached the third step. The gate waited. Open us, the voice whispered. Claire placed her palm against the silver eye. Ancient power moved through the chamber. She felt crown command rise inside her, ready to become a word. Instead, Claire asked a question. What happens if I say no? The gate became silent. Claire smiled. That is what I thought. She removed her hand. Every silver symbol went dark. The voice changed from calm to disbelief. You refuse your inheritance? I refuse anything that needs my choice but will not respect it. Behind her, Nathaniel slowly smiled. The gate trembled. Then a hidden section of stone opened beside it. Thomas stepped forward. Your Majesty. Inside the wall rested a sealed archive marked with Eleanor's crest. Claire stared. Her mother had been here. Nathaniel opened the archive. One document waited inside. Eleanor's final testimony. Nathaniel read silently before handing it to Claire. The Nocturne Empire survives beyond the first gate. They cannot cross without a willing crown daughter. Claire looked at the dark doorway. For 23 years, Eleanor had not hidden her daughter because Claire was weak. She had hidden her because one day, an empire would ask her to open a door. And Eleanor needed Claire to grow up knowing she was allowed to say no. By sunrise, they returned to Blackthorn Castle. The High Council gathered in the royal hall. Evelyn surrendered her council authority until her role in Claire's hidden childhood could be fully reviewed. Eleanor's records were restored. Claire Bennett was formally recognized as Princess Claire Blackthorn. Nathaniel offered her the empty royal chair beside his throne. Claire looked at it. Then she sat in an ordinary wooden chair at the council table. I am not ready for that one, she said. Nathaniel nodded. Then it waits. That evening, Claire returned to the Black Mirror at the Ashcroft Hotel. Nathaniel stood behind her. Why are we here? He asked. Claire touched the glass. Because the gate said the empire was beyond it. The mirror darkened. And? Claire watched silver letters appear. The mirror was already on this side. Nathaniel froze. A male voice whispered through the ballroom. Very clever, princess. Claire stepped back. The glass filled with hundreds of pale figures standing in a distant throne room. At their center sat a man wearing an ancient silver crown. He smiled. You closed our gate. His eyes settled on Claire. So we found another door. The mirror cracked with silver light. Nathaniel moved beside her. Claire did not command him. She did not need to. The Vampire King chose to stand with her. Claire looked at the waiting empire and finally understood what her mother had protected. True royalty was never proven by how many people were forced to kneel. It was proven by what you chose to do when you had the power to make them.